Orange County showed signs of life over the last two matches, but unfortunately, all they have is one measly point to show for it, thanks to some questionable red cards and some very lucky plays from the opponents, both San Diego and Phoenix. We're going to talk about that, and we'll look ahead to the match against Monterey Bay. Let's get this thing started. Welcome to the Podcast of Champions. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
And the air leaves Al Lang Stadium in one large exhale. Trouble. Arozarena's beat. Orange County opens the scoring. It's Thomas. Kuninga scores! The old guard with a new trophy.
This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. Follow us on Twitter at OCSC_SoccerCast or on Facebook at Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
How's it going, Orange County? Welcome to another episode of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. I'm your host, Ray Samora, and I'm here to take you through this journey as we discuss all things Orange County Soccer Club. Let's run through who we have helping me out tonight. First, let's welcome him back. We found him. He was missing for the last, month or so, but we finally figured out where he's been. I think he's now back in some grandma's living room to do the show, and that's Dylan. Dylan, how you doing, Dylan? Let's just move it on to Brad because we can't even hear what Dylan's saying right now.
Brad gets introduced first. I don't know what else happened.
Brad is now the first voice other than mine you hear on this episode for the first time ever. He's stoked about it.
I think we've had it one other time.
Okay, one other time, Brad. Well, Brad, how are you doing, and how was your 4th of July?
Oh boy, I'm gonna save my 4th of July rant for my random thoughts, but yeah, fireworks are pretty great, guys.
Did you go over the hump and prump? No, Dylan, no. How are you doing? Can we hear you now, Dylan? Let's test this out.
Maybe.
Yay!
There he is.
We can hear me. Hello, everyone. It is so great to be back. I'm sorry I missed you all for 3 whole weeks. And I have to disagree. Fireworks are actually not great.
You know what? Fireworks are crazy. We and I know we're going to get into talking soccer, but my family, we went to my mom's house. She lives in La Mirada. Anyone familiar with the area, La Mirada can actually do, the fireworks, not the illegal ones, but the ones that you shoot out of boxes and tubes or whatever, and do little lights and flashes or whatever. So my mom bought a box for the boys to enjoy for 4th of July. We were lighting through, halfway through, we light this one, it's doing its thing. And then all of a sudden a big bang happens and the whole thing just exploded. Luckily, we were far enough away from it where no one got hit by any of the shrapnel, but first time I've ever experienced that with a legal firework exploding like that. It was pretty crazy. But, you people in Nevada, you guys are just crazy with your fireworks. I mean, you guys just probably shoot them off like crazy and, probably like get bottle rockets and, hold it with your teeth and let it shoot out like that. That's what you Nevadans do, right, Brad?
I still have all 10 of my fingers after last night, and one of them, however, got a splinter completely unrelated, and I don't know if my camera will show it, but I have it's a Cinderella band-aid to go along with it.
All right. Interesting thing to go. Let's talk about soccer. Let's stop talking about all this other stuff. Let's talk about soccer. I'm going to say this. We're going to talk about 2 matches. We're going to talk about the match against San Diego last Wednesday, and then over this past weekend against Phoenix. Both were road matches. And let me just start off with this. This is just off of both these matches. Orange County was actually showing some signs of life in both of these matches. And I think a strong case can be made for both the match. And we'll just talk about both matches combined. We're not going to break them down individually if we don't want to. But if anyone has any specific thoughts about any of the matches, feel free to jump on there. But argument can be made, right, Dylan, that Orange County was maybe the better team in both of these matches, and only for some interesting decisions and red cards and whatnot, and just minor collapses or lapses in defense. It's the only reason Orange County only left with 1 point out of these 2 matches. What are your thoughts, Dylan?
It's not super unfair to say that. I mean, like, we're one like goalkeeping blunder away from probably getting through the San Diego match, or like one MMA match away from maybe getting out of this one. But we seem to struggle still. We haven't actually solved any issues where, yeah, it's the 95th minute and you still can't really get around. Maybe I'm getting a little too ahead of myself there, but it's a little frustrating. It's also a little frustrating that we've got a local, like, as close to as we're going to have a derby match, and it's on a Wednesday night in the middle. Like, how are you supposed to be growing the game and growing these storylines if you're just messing around with this kind of nonsense scheduling, but still just I don't know, man. Like, why are we having an MMA fight during the middle of a game? But yeah,
Has
not,
anyone
not a great
have
look.
either of you actually heard anything about what the official reasoning for the double red there? I know they were, wrapped up in each other, and I get it, but it seems like the San Diego guy initiated that altercation. Now, who knows what happened right before it, but I'm assuming the red card is for the altercation. It's not for what happened prior to the actual altercation there. And it seems like the San Diego player was the one initiating it and piling on top of Longmire. And yes, I don't want to get people mad. Longmire was throwing some punches from the ground with the big guy from San Diego on top of him. But what else are you supposed to do in that situation? Are you supposed to sit there and let a guy just pummel you and not protect yourself? I get the spirit of the rule, but I feel like there's instances where you have to look at what happened there. But again, we don't have VAR. We don't have the ability to look back at exactly what happened, and the ref's going to make a decision based on what he saw. And more than likely in those types of situations, it's going to be a double red card. But I'm going to go to you, Brad. I mean, can we feel a little bit frustrated that it was a straight double red on that? Or did you see anything from Longmire that you think, okay, that's definitely something that deserved a red card from him?
Ray, it takes 2 to tango, and I definitely saw some dancing there. So I think a double red is the least that you're gonna see, if not a multiple match suspension. Like, regardless of what happened in the lead up going to it, he fought and he continued to fight. And I don't know what happened. I haven't inquired into it. That's kind of not my thing, but he fought, and something's gonna come from it. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be 2 reds, but the league is going to have that camera footage with the audio. Like, we remember a couple years ago, how helpful the audio was with a particular disagreement involving San Diego and another team that we might talk about later on this podcast. And that audio and that camera footage was very helpful in figuring out what was said and what was done, and the things that were said in the follow-up of that. The league probably has access, or I would hope has access to that in this regard. And there's absolutely no chance that the cameras and the mics didn't pick up exactly what was said and done kind of in the lead up to that Longmire Vassell malice in the Torero Stadium. We got to come up with a better name for it, I think. Ray, you're not smiling as much as I thought you would for me making a basketball reference. So that's disappointing, but
you didn't finish. You didn't finish it off, Dylan. You started it, but you didn't finish it off.
Well, because it's not much of a palace. My point being, both of them are going to see at least 3 games, right? But I can't imagine a world in which Vassell, who's trying to get on top of Longmire for 4 or 5 seconds before he actually manages it, doesn't see at least a couple games on top of that. Realistically, I think 5-6 games for probably both of them would be fair, but we've seen things go from, like, I think Ami Pineda got 9 a couple years ago, or 6 or 9 for kicking a player while he was on the ground, and then the player that actually instigated that fight walked away with like a 1-game ban for a red card. So hockey fans like to say spin the wheel and see what the Department of Player Safety comes up with. You guys can play at home, write a couple random numbers on a on a board and spin it around or throw a dart at it and see what you get. And that's probably going to be pretty close to the actual outcome here.
I think our producer, Andy, he sort of tried to get some information on this, and I believe Longmire got 2-match suspension. But I also believe the club is appealing it or contesting it or whatever the official terminology is for that. Oh, Dylan, let me help you out. You were going with that Malice in the Palace type reference. Maybe we can call it like the Tango in Diego or something like that. I don't know. But because they were sort of dancing and they were really close and they were moving back and forth a little bit. Who knows? But yeah, let me talk about Longmire really quick. Can anyone have a worse start to their loan or career with any team? Longmire's had a really tough stretch here to start with Orange County. His first match, he he contributed to 2 penalty kicks for was it Lou City, I believe is who they played on that first match. Wasn't much better the next match. This match, he's getting a straight red for a fight. Is this one of those things where maybe you just have to look at it and say, let's just terminate this loan because it's not working out for Orange County? It's more trouble than it's worth. Or do we see something out of Longmire that we need to keep him here? Dylan.
Dude, Mamadou Fall last year for Vegas had an absolute shocker of a game and then went off and was arguing and borderline about to really honestly looked like he was about to fight a number of his teammates. And, now look what he's doing. He's got to take time. He's been thrown into an absolute dumpster fire of a back line and an absolute dumpster fire of a season. And yeah, he's going to make mistakes because there'll be another person to talk about that still gets minutes after making a lot of mistakes as well. So this one, a little less so, I think, a mistake. Yeah, you're not walking away, right? Because you're playing a game, you're on Razor's Edge, you're not thinking rationally, you're not walking away from when someone's squaring up to you. Yeah, you're gonna talk back and you're gonna start throwing punches back. So I want to give them a little bit of credit for this one. There were, worse mistakes, like a certain penalty call that followed this.
Definitely. And the interesting fact with us, I'll go to you, Brad, is this happened with a score tied 1-1. And even after this happened, Orange County was at least looking like they were not panicking. They were not struggling. It was a hard fought battle. And it was just a sort of, it's something that happens, just a goal that, I don't know. What do you think? I don't even know what I want to say, Brad.
There's a question in there somewhere. I'm just going to, I guess, go
figure it out. Figure out the question.
Yeah. Well, Dylan alluded to a certain penalty that happened later. It's how do you replace someone like Longmire when he's the only healthy body you have? Sure, you can say let's terminate him, but what are you gonna do? Play Skendi back there more? And it doesn't help that Orozco got a red in his next match that we'll cover later, but there is no other options that the team has right now. I know we're watching this. What is it, Hoffman, who gives up the PK on this stream live right now, and we can talk till the moon comes in about how enunciated that arms in the air, going down is, but I think a penalty is the right call there, and there were opportunities that Orange County missed the second half.
Is the penalty the correct call though, Brad? I gotta fight you on that because it's Hoffman throwing his right leg in front. The San Diego player throwing his right leg after he sort of stumbles a little bit in front of Hoffman, who's just running past the player, and that's what causes the contact. Even the announcer for San Diego, she said that the San Diego player created the penalty, and then she also said it should have been a card for Hoffman in that situation, which baffles me if. She's admitting that the player she's a homer for created that penalty. And then also saying that the OC player should have got a card. That's a totally different story. But if you look at that replay really closely, that contact is initiated by the San Diego player, and it's Hoffman's just trying to run past him. He's not trying to take a swing at the San Diego player. So I will say, I do not believe it should have been a penalty. It's just, again, it's one of those things in this league. We've already talked numerous times about how inconsistent, how poor the refereeing is in the USL. And obviously there's no VAR to maybe look at that and see if that's a clear and obvious error in the call.
I disagree. I don't like admitting it, but I think it is the right call. It's contact in the box, and as much as I think San Diego is guilty of kind of embellishing the contact there, I think there is contact. And like it or not, Hoffman's not going for the ball. It doesn't look like he's going for the ball. It looks like he's
running by the player. He's running by the player. He's not even trying to make a play on the ball, Brad. That's the issue with it. If you watch the right leg of the San Diego player, he throws his leg out in front of Hoffman, who's just trying to run past him. So I'm sorry, Brad. I'm not going to agree with you on this one.
We can disagree on it. That's perfectly fine. But looking as a completely taking my affiliation with this team out, definitely think it's the right call. Hoffman's not playing for the ball. He misses the ball completely, and then there's contact after he's whiffed the ball and the ball's away from the player. It's a penalty kick, but definitely, we don't need the arms being thrown in the air. I think we both can agree and say that let's not embellish the call a little.
Hey, Dylan. I mean, let Brad know I'm right here, right? I'm the correct person in this argument.
I see that I'm barely 20 minutes back into the show and already I'm having to do some peacekeeping. I don't think, in a perfect world, I don't think it's a pen because I'm not convinced of the actual contact. I think his foot's already going before there's actually any contact made. But how was the ref supposed to see that? The ref's not a foot away to see that there's actually not contact there, and yeah, there's no VAR. So
this is why, Dylan,
it was a bad tackle, honestly.
This is why you got to get into politics, Dylan, because you're trying to play both sides of this argument right here. You're trying to balance between Brad and myself and not pick a side.
Well, because ultimately, it's complicated, and it was a bad tackle, but I'm not convinced of the contact really being the reason for the penalty. I'm not sure there was actually enough contact there for that to be going on. He's slipping, and that's unfortunate. But when you put your leg past someone and then they start to go to the ground, and I'm 15 yards away from you, and I'm just hauled to get across the pitch, it looks like a pen. So I understand why the call was made. This is far from.
So I get that, Dylan. I get that, Dylan. It looks like a pen. I get why the ref's making that call, because it's tough to make that kind of call in that situation with no assistance, no VAR, and you're not one of the top 5 to 10 refs in the world when it comes to soccer. So I'm not expecting it to be perfect, and we've discussed it numerous times about how imperfect USL reffing is. But I'm taking it outside of what the ref did. Just looking at it, it was obviously not a penalty, at least in my eyes. Brad may have an argument on his end, but all the contact, and even the San Diego announcer admits that the contact is created by the San Diego player on there. And that was, I don't know what her name is, but in her own words on that, right?
Shannon McMillan, I believe. 99.
I just don't know what you would give instead of a penalty there.
I'd give nothing there. There would be nothing there because the San Diego player slipping, he throws his right leg in front of the path of Hoffman as he's running back, and that's what creates the contact. It's not Hoffman making a play on the ball. Hoffman's trying to run past the player at that point, not even making a play on the ball, and the San Diego player throws his right leg in front of Hoffman's path as Hoffman's trying to run past. That's what it is. That's why there'd be no penalty.
Either way.
Right.
Either way, we get the privilege of looking at it later on a replay over and over.
I get
zoomed in.
No, I get that.
Looks like a duck.
I don't. Yeah.
And it sounds like a duck. Then it's probably a duck.
And in this case, the duck is non-penalty. So in the end, Orange County loses the match in San Diego 2-1. Unfortunately, with that penalty, that gives San Diego the win. And something that we were looking at is hopefully at least some sort of result in San Diego ends up in disappointment. And the trouble with it is, you get Longmire with the red card, so you know he's going to miss out on the next match. And that next match is in Phoenix, and it's only, 3 days between matches for that Phoenix match. So Orange County heads over to the desert. What is it? Wild Horse Pass or something like that. And they're facing our good old friends in Phoenix, who are struggling as well. This is interesting, right? I think when you look at the calendar or the schedules when it comes out, this is a marquee match for the USL. 4th of July weekend on a Saturday night, you got Orange County and Phoenix. That's definitely a marquee match at the beginning of the season. But you head to the match, and both teams are really, really struggling. And I'm going to say this: Orange County was even more dominant in this match against Phoenix than they were even in the San Diego match. They look like they should have gotten the full 3 points against this Phoenix squad. Unfortunately, again, that did not happen. And Orange County's left at least with 1 point, but that just has to feel like a loss in this instance against Phoenix. Dylan, what's your thoughts on the Phoenix match? Let's not even get into the red card situation that happened, or the little altercation that happened that saw Orange County get, 2 red cards and Phoenix 1 yellow card. But we'll talk about that. What are your just overall thoughts of the match against Phoenix?
Oh, thank God that Milan Olaski is not slowing down any, because look, if we discount what he's done this season, we are not even entertaining a conversation about what 2 months from now might look like. But he is getting it done, and it's keeping us around. And it's giving us a little bit of hope, I think. If you have a guy that you can consistently feed the ball to, and he'll just keep scoring goals. I mean, this was Michael Seaton 4 years ago, Michael Seaton 3 years ago. This was Ronaldo Damas last season. And you can keep feeding him the ball, and he will keep finding ways to score ugly goals, pretty goals, stunners, terrible stuff. I'm waiting for maybe for him to take after Richard Chaplow and score one with his rear end. It doesn't really matter. He's kind of the bright spot for me of this team and of this match.
Oh, he's the obvious bright spot at this point of the season. Of very few bright spots. Let me ask you this. I mean, a super negative spot, Brad. Do we know what the record is for most own goals scored in a season? Because now Albie's like, this is his second or third of the season, right? I mean, in this match, is there something going on here? Is there maybe some sort of secret contract that the USL has given to Albie that says, hey, Orange County's signing you, but please score some own goals? Because man, he's struggling back there. And obviously he's in there because Longmire gets the red card in San Diego, so Skendi has to play in this match. But man, that has to be frustrating, right, Brad?
I mean, it's just been the theme of the season, mistakes in the back four, and every week I'm thinking, oh, there's no way I can come up and say something new, and then every week I'm proven wrong. And this time it's a Longmire gets into a UFC fight and Skendi scores yet another own goal, and this one's a stunner. It's like top right corner, like if he was a striker, we'd be saying it's like a pretty good goal of the year. And he also is a striker, except in this case he's scoring on his own goal. But I guess the one thing we continue talking about over the last 2 seasons is late goals in times that we shouldn't be allowing late goals. Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that last minute goal, but before we get there, and I'm going to probably give a very unpopular opinion with Orange County fans, and you guys will probably be shocked with what I'm going to say here. In this match, there was another altercation for the club, and this time it was Aiden Quinn with a really hard challenge on Kubo Torres. When you look at the replay, potentially that should have been a potential red card. I'm not saying for sure it's a red card, but there's the potential there because of the follow through in it. But in the altercation, there's a scuffle between multiple players. Michael Orozco gets involved in that. And unfortunately, and I'm going by the rules of the game, he does put his hands towards the throat of a Phoenix player. And although it was a very slight, 1 second contact, and probably not intentionally going for the throat, just sort of trying to push the guy back, is what it looks like to me. By the rules of the game here, the contact at the throat is a red card. And so I have to say it's a red card. I'm not going to argue with that. I know there's a lot of Orange County fans that are frustrated, think it's a very light red card there. But unfortunately, because the hand did get to the throat, I think it's a legit red card there. Obviously, I don't think that's what Orozco was going for. I think Orozco was just trying to push a player back who is being very confrontational at that point. But a red card for Michael Orozco, so that's difficult. But in the altercation, again, initiated by the Aiden Quinn challenge on Kubo Torres with a very, very strong follow through there. I believe Aiden Quinn gets a yellow and Orozco gets a red because of his hand for a second on the throat of one of the Phoenix players. And also who was the other Orange County player that got the card?
Kevin Partita, but he was subbed off.
He was already on a yellow. He had been subbed off, but something he did off the bench there during that altercation, he gets the red card now. So in an altercation initiated by Aiden Quinn, we'll talk about him in just a little bit. Orange County sees 2 red cards. Phoenix gets 1 yellow card. And that changes the whole dynamic of this match that Orange County was dominating up until that point. I'm not saying that's an excuse as to why Phoenix should be able to score in the 94th minute of a match, but that's part of it, right? Your best defender out there is now off the pitch, who may have been able to organize the defense a little bit better. Thoughts on all of that, Dylan? The whole altercation and the red cards and the yellow card to Aiden Quinn. What were your thoughts on that? And do you agree that Orozco deserved a straight red there?
He's 2 inches away from not getting a red, but yeah, he hits the neck, so it becomes a red. He's given up dumber red cards in the past. It's just a frustrating, dumb situation because we still can't defend. And
now we're going to be missing Orozco and Longmire in the next upcoming match. That's going to be fun. We're going to have to see what happens with the team. But sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry.
No. Yeah, we still can't defend. It's a dumb situation to get into. But yeah, it's not a surprise. I think maybe we've kind of forgotten, like, Aiden Quinn, much like Michael Orozco, is a player who is very intense and very argumentative and combative. And it's not a surprise that he would get chippy, and it's not a surprise that he would put in a hard tackle because he is playing to win. He's playing on 100%, like full gas constantly. Like he had goes at other players while he was here. He had goes at other players during matches, during training. This is kind of like an Aiden Quinn thing, but it's not a bad thing. It's just, now we're seeing the opposite side of it, and we're falling for dumb stuff behind that, and it's costing us points that we can't really afford to get rid of. So maybe we're singling out Aiden Quinn because we lost this match, when there's still like defensive errors, and we've still historically done pretty poorly there. Like in 2018, we won 4-3. We gave 3 goals in the second half. And very nearly gave up a 4th in like the 96th or 7th minute. So this is kind of par for the course as far as I'm concerned. Like a red card or 2 red cards and some bad defending. This sounds like an Orange County match.
Brad, your thoughts on the altercation that led to the 2 red cards for Orange County, 1 yellow for Phoenix, and how it impacted the match?
I don't think that, albeit the tackle was very hard, I don't think Quinn necessarily deserves a red card there. I'll disagree with you again. I think that that Quinn comes in. The challenge is definitely yellow card worthy. He comes in strong. I think he pushes. I think he pushes Kubo, but I think he's trying to avoid a stomp afterwards. You can tell he's definitely not trying to stomp Kubo while he's on the ground, which is what I think would have earned him the red if he did connect with that stomp. However, I think it's just a very hard tackle in a very physical game, and that's a yellow. That's not a red for me. Orozco, yeah, Dylan covered it perfectly. 2 inches from not being a red. I don't think he was trying to go for the neck. I think he was genuinely trying to push somebody away, but definitely a player we cannot afford to lose. Because our next back 4 is going to consist of Villanueva, Peterson, Skendi, and Hoffman, and that is because I think after Orozco got sent off, I think Peterson filled in on the back 4. If not,
who's the guy?
Who's
the guy we have on loan from Red Bulls? Yeah, Dom, right?
Yeah. I don't
So, I
know.
mean,
Dom wasn't impressive either.
Have we
Yeah.
considered re-signing Kevin Alston?
he's out there.
He
He's
did great.
available, right?
I think his days might be
so
done, but at this
couple
point,
more things I want to talk about this match is let's talk about Aiden Quinn really quick. Obviously a fan favorite from his time with Orange County. I think there was some, the fans still were loving him, even though he went to a rival in Phoenix, but they still wanted to show love to Aiden Quinn. Has he sort of like burnt that last bit of appreciation from the Orange County fans? Is he now an enemy to Orange County fans after the events of this match, or do you see still Orange County fans loving Aiden Quinn for what he did for the club? Dylan, as the longest tenured Orange County fan here, I'm going to ask you: Is Aiden Quinn still a fan favorite with Orange County fans, or is he now sort of moved past that stage?
I don't think he's moved past that stage. I think most fans think that good riddance about him and that we're better off without him. I don't share that idea, but I know plenty of people felt great when he missed his penalty last year and Phoenix went crashing out of the playoffs. I don't know. He was the backbone of this team's creativity for a while, and he had an incredible, successful tenure. It's not a surprise knowing who Aiden is that he is this way and that he's actually not going to be that popular here after the fact. But going to go against the grain, and I'm still a fan, even if everyone else likes to complain about him in the stands.
Now, one other thing I noticed from this match that I have a really big concern with, and this has to do maybe with preparation for matches and equipment managers. I don't know what Orange County does with all this, but it seemed to be that the Orange County players were playing on ice while Phoenix was playing on solid ground. If you watch that replay, there's probably at least 25 times that Orange County players are slipping, falling, losing their footing on this ground for whatever reason. I've watched, NFL games in the past where, you'll hear about the team is switching their shoes midway through the game because they're realizing they're not working. I get it. NFL has a lot more money invested and available for these types of things, but what can be done in this? I'm going to ask you, Brad, this question. Like, is that a concern that we're going maybe with the wrong equipment and we don't have like a backup option when, your first option for cleats isn't working? What are we going to do to change this? Because for whatever reason, Phoenix was staying on their feet. Orange County was just tripping and falling and sliding left and right. I don't get what was happening there. What are your thoughts, Brad?
I'm not qualified to answer that question. I haven't worn a pair of cleats since I was a child, and to be honest, I wasn't making decisions about what footwear we bring to games and changing it. Plus, I don't think the money's there in this division outside of like Phoenix to even afford multiple pairs of shoes. I think they're just used to that field because that's where they play every week. It was 96 degrees at kickoff and really hot. And they were the better prepared field team for the field that they played on, which, they weren't the better team on the night, but they were better prepared for slipping and sliding all over the place, I guess.
Dylan, quick thoughts on that. I mean, what can be done to help prevent that again from happening again in the future with Orange County? Like, I mean, it looked like ice capades for them out there. They were just, and that equalizing goal for Phoenix was partially due to Tommy McCabe stumbling and slipping on the pitch right at the top of the box there.
Yeah, if Tommy doesn't slide that goal, probably. I mean, I feel pretty confident saying that they don't actually score that goal, but yeah, it's not great. Unfortunately, not to discredit Brad here, but if a player does request a pair of boots, the club is obligated to supply boots. I believe like 1 or 2 pairs. So there's that. Apologies for the dog noise maybe in the background, but I don't really know what to do outside of, I don't know, not stretching. Is this because we're down a man and we're just trying to stretch that extra inch and the turf gives away a little bit? I'm not going to say they have a worse pitch than us because, it wasn't that long ago that we were painting the field for
against
TV.
Phoenix.
So against Phoenix, no less. So, yeah, I just think it's a little bit of bad luck, a little bit of stretching too far. And yeah, you're not going to go out and wear metal studs, like soft ground boots on this, because you're gonna
Obviously.
do your knee in if you do it that way. So
Yeah,
it's
to be
kind of got to
fair,
be
I don't feel discredited because I don't know what I'm talking about in terms of boots. So how can you discredit someone who isn't even giving them credit in the first place?
All right.
So unfortunately, Orange County leaves these two matches. I think most of us, Dylan wasn't here, so we don't know what Dylan's thoughts were, but we're all hopeful to get at least results in both of these matches. But unfortunately, Orange County gets only 1 point out of the two matches. Two matches that were very important here at this point of the season, especially when you're getting a chance to face a very, very struggling Phoenix squad in Phoenix. You got to take care of that opportunity and get the full 3 points, but it doesn't happen. So with that, let's get in really quick to our two games. One of them is finalized now after the San Diego match, which was our Playing for Pride game. So let's talk about that really quick and see how our standings ended up with that in Playing for Pride, which again, everyone knows we had some really good stuff. Look at that. We had quite a few listeners beat us out. Chuck, Marcus, Russell, and Larry all beat us in this Playing for Pride thing. So we're going to have to make sure we confirm who. I know some of these names for sure, but we'll have to confirm all these names, make sure we get information so we can send them something from the podcast in honor of them beating Alan, who ended up winning out of the podcast. Dylan was winning for so much of the time, and then Alan snuck up for the win there at the end. I got third. I at least beat Andy and Brad, so that's a good thing. Dylan.
Hey, I'm not sure bragging about beating me is the flex you think it is.
Ooh.
That's our producer Andy there jumping on. It is a big flex, Andy. It's a big flex. When I typically am last in these competitions, anytime I could beat anyone else, it's a big flex for me. So I'm going to take it. And if you look at that, I was only 12 points back of the winner, Alan, from the podcast. But again, congrats to Chuck, Marcus, Russell, Larry, for beating the so-called experts. Yeah. Whoever Chuck is, we got to get Chuck on here as an expert because Chuck knew who to pick on there to win this Playing for Pride thing.
That's Chuck Eldridge. Come on, guys.
Okay. Oh, I didn't want to assume. I did not want to assume.
The man is
only.
And honestly, I look at Chucky and my first thing that comes to mind is cheese at the end of that. And I didn't want to go that route and make it look bad.
Chuck, to give a little insight, Chuck is probably the only psychopath that we had in this whole competition. Because obviously a lot of us, I did not, but a lot of people picked up Rakovsky as a goalkeeper of choice. Chuck is the only person to have picked up Shuttler. And the 2 games Shuttler had at the end of the month, absolutely, that is the difference between him and Marcus.
That was a value pick right there. That was a value pick right there. That Shuttler for $1. That was a good pick.
But to quickly wrap up Playing for Pride, I'll have to release actual statistics about individual players and where they ended up on the rankings because it's actually quite cool seeing the final rankings and especially the players who got chosen. Nobody picked Cubo Torres. Everybody who wanted a 5 cost went Milan Oloski. And not saying that at the beginning of the month I disagree, but that would be one of my changes I would have made. I probably would have made Cubo a 4 cost pick to entice people to pick Cubo over Oloski because they both had pretty good months. I think Cubo only scored 4 or 6 less points than Oloski.
Yeah. So obviously we're all making donations towards Playing for Pride for our participation in this. Also, the podcast will make a donation. We do ask, if anyone can also contribute to Playing for Pride. Whatever amount you can is awesome. It's something we all support on this podcast. So thank you so much for the fun. We'll do this again next year, and hopefully I can jump up and be second place next year. The other competition we do, this is a year-long competition, is our prediction competition, where all of us predict the winners and the score lines of matches to see who is awesome at this. See, this is more like me when it comes to these types of competitions. I am not even close to Brad, who's in third place. I'm 20 back of Dylan, who's in first place. It's funny. I got it wrong. This is the game where people get a prize, but I'm going to do something for the Playing for Pride thing. But this is the game where people get a prize, and we're looking better as a podcast here with only El Patron de Grayson beating us with 87 points somehow, some way. Great job, man. That's the expert right there. That's, if anyone has gone to our website recently and read, that's Larry who's provided some written articles on our website. So support, go read what he has to say, and share that so we can get more readership there. But that's how things are going as of now. We still have more matches to go with this. Let's just briefly talk about our upcoming match. The first match for Orange County against Monterey Bay. It's a home match for Orange County. The first time these two sides are going to face each other. I'm not going to lie. I don't know anything about Monterey Bay except for the fact that somehow, some way they're below us on the table, I believe, unless they've jumped us. I don't know. I can't remember. But this is a match. Maybe the standings are based more on earlier poor performances from Monterey Bay, because I believe they've been playing better as of late. So this is not a match that we can look at and say this is a easy victory for Orange County. This is going to be something that they're going to have to do. And again, we're going to have a weird back line for this match. Dylan, what's going on with this Monterey Bay team? Can we beat them? And what do we need to do to beat them?
I think maybe with a solid back line, yeah, we can beat them. But I don't know. I have a lot of respect for Hugh Roberts as a person, and a lot of respect for him as a player as well. I think, yeah, it takes time as an expansion side to kind of develop, and I think they're kind of coming around to that now. So I don't know if we can beat them. And to be honest with you, with whatever our back line looks like, I don't have that confidence. This isn't the team in last October where Rob Kiernan picked up a red card and Kevin Olsen just slotted over and played maybe one of the best games of his life at center back. I don't have that confidence in this team and this back line to kind of see this game out, because I can't see Orange County scoring 2-3 goals here. I think it's, score once and hold on.
Milan can score 2-3 goals on his own there. I mean,
yeah, I'm aware, and he is currently the league golden boot holder. Now, you won't hear anything about that, I'm sure, but I can't see us putting like 2-3 back this, unless we just like whipping across and Albie Skendy's head happens to just be there again, because
no,
2 goals that are scored that way.
I was gonna say Albie Skendy's gonna have to be in defense if he's playing, because we have no defenders. So Albie Skendy's gonna have to stay back. He's not gonna be able to push forward like we've seen in the past. We need him in the back. It's probably going to be
for that corner. It's for that corner that we'll get.
Oh, for the corner. Okay.
He's still good for one, though.
Be there.
Okay.
Because he's
good
just
for one.
Tall.
We don't know if it's an own goal, or a goal for us, but he's good for one goal in this match, Brad.
Yeah, I'm not going to put that on paper, but joking matters is he's good for one. If anything,
good
for one.
Would anything be funnier than a 1-1 draw with Albie Skendy scoring both goals?
Well, we need to now figure this out for the US. I don't want to look up like world soccer records, but I want to look up USL Championship records for the most own goals in a season. I want to really figure out what that is, because I want to see if Albie Skendy potentially can get to that record. I already see Brad like trying to think of, how do I look that up? Where do I go to figure out that information? We're going to try and find that out, and we'll let you know. Probably not this episode, but in the future, we'll figure this out, and maybe we'll do an Albie Skendy watch as we get closer to the end of the season and see if he can actually break the own goal record for the USL Championship. But my interesting thing, and I'm going to ask you, Brad, even though you've disappeared from our screen for a moment, I believe.
Sorry, girlfriend's dog is having girlfriend's dog had a nightmare giving belly rubs to supplement.
Oh, I'm not trying to be mean, but I love when dogs have like a nightmare or a dream where they start barking like they're chasing a bird or something like that, or whatever, and start going crazy.
Right. Do you have any dogs, Ray?
Yeah, I do. My dog does that all the time. She'll be laying there, and all of a sudden you just hear her just.
Do I need to call up animal rescue?
No, in my mind, she's like chasing a bird or chasing a rabbit or something like that. She's not actually scared. But Brad, I'm going to ask you this question. Obviously, Rich Tebble likes to go with a back three. With 3 center backs in the starting lineup. If he does go with that plan for this match, who are our starting 3 center backs against Monterey Bay?
Our starting 3 center backs are Patrick Rakowski, Nadam, and Skenny.
All right. Has anyone, Dylan, do you think the club has reached out to players maybe like a Walker Hume or a Leonardo and asked any of them if they can come play in a spot for us since they're familiar with the team at all?
Look, I know I'm being goated here, but come on. Walker Hume wasn't even hitting the gym in 2019 when he was still a player. There's absolutely no chance. There are so
Okay.
many other people that would be getting a call for a 1 week loan or a 2 week loan or a 1 month loan beforehand. I would sooner give it to Kevin Alston.
Maybe we can ask Rennes, whatever they are, if we can borrow Kobe Henry for a month.
Nice. You don't really pronounce the N. It's just you just go right past it.
Well, yeah, we've missed you, Dylan, in this because in all this, Kobe Henry goes to France and we don't know how to pronounce these French words. We missed Dylan on that. But is there any? Maybe we can ask, hey, can we just borrow him for a month? We need him right now, right? I mean, at least he would know how to fit into the squad. Or maybe we can ask for Blake Malone, or maybe get Gorski back on the squad. I don't know what's going on. What are we going to do with this? This is scary, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny because we look back, we've got all these emergency signings, all these like random loans of people who, probably trained here for a week, paperwork gets done, and they start 2 days later. We had a center back here who was under contract for a couple of years, went out on loan, did his thing, spent time injured, but did his thing and ended up winning a cup. And then we just refused to play him. And now we're now
we need center backs and we don't have one. And I mean, nothing against who are Gorski. I mean, he was there too, and he left for whatever reason. I mean, these are players that we could use right now on this squad for whatever reason, but we don't have that, so it's scary. But let's get into this predictions against Monterey Bay. Brad, what's the prediction for Monterey Bay?
Oh boy, I'm on the spot first. You know what? Here's what I'll say. If Dylan Powers is in this game and he looks as good as he did down the stretch last season, 2-1 Orange County. And that is the one I'll put on paper. If he's not in the game, it's probably going to be 1-1.
All right. So Brad's official though is 2-1 Orange County. Dylan,
Yes.
Your prediction for this match? We know what it's going to be.
Massive surprise, but it's going to be a good 1-1 draw here.
And then I'm going to let our producer, Andy, do the prediction for Allen. We'll wait for him to get there. I'm going to do my prediction right now. I'm going to say 2-2 draw on this match against Monterey Bay.
I heard my name. Andy. What am I doing?
You're going to do Allen's prediction for this match against Monterey Bay.
I don't know what their record looks like, but I'm going to
they've lost 4 of their last 5.
I'm going to put myself in Allen mode, and I'm going to say 2-1 Monterey Bay.
All right, there we go. So there's our official predictions for the podcast. Everyone else, get your predictions in so we can make sure we tally those and we can share those and keep track of those and find out who's doing good and who's better than us at figuring all this stuff out. Yeah, I see Dylan's trying to figure out the own goal records in the USL. It's difficult because they don't keep many statistics easily available in this league, but somehow, some way we'll figure this out. Let's do this really quick because Brad brought it up. We got to talk about the return of Dylan Powers. We know Dylan loves the fact that our Dylan loves the fact that Dylan Powers spells his name differently. But what are your thoughts, Dylan, of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast on the return of Dylan for Orange County Soccer Club? Did that make sense?
Be any more convoluted? I'm confused. Am I excited he's back? Yes. Is he a center back? No. So I'm a little bit.
He may for this match against Monterey Bay be a center back.
No, I kind of hope this is a shift to like a diamond in the middle. He did really well for a 4-2-3-1. I think he really helped Tommy McCabe the tail half of last year. I think his ability to kind of pick out a pass and progress the ball was really helpful because we obviously didn't have Miko a little bit deeper in the pitch, and I think Miko's another player who can move the ball that way. So I think that experience and his experience just as a player and his ability should do us numbers here. my hope is this maybe frees up Peterson to do something a little bit different. Maybe a side by side with Tommy McCabe. Maybe just anchoring it himself, because I actually believe in his ability to do that. But we'll see. We got to get through a couple weeks of suspensions and injuries, and you know what? Like, there's just enough hope, I think, off of Milan Olaski's coattails at the moment. That's a little conductor joke from that New Mexico match, by the way. I'm not sure if that one went over the head, so I thought I would just beat it over the head. I think there's enough hope riding off his coattails that maybe there's still hope for what Dylan Powers can add to this team in 3 weeks.
Hey, hopefully. Brad, thoughts on Dylan Powers returning to Orange County?
If there were ever a player signing that makes sense, it's this. I know I talk about frequently, if you're going to bring a player in, they need to already have known the system, and he knows the system. Hopefully he can hit the ground. I know he played in Northern Ireland this past season, and he played in like 8 games or something. I don't know how many of those are starts because their statistics are kind of kaput, but hopefully he can just fill in and be the same player he was last season.
Yeah, hopefully Dylan Powers can provide some stability with his team and provide the leadership maybe that this team has somehow been lacking, even though you have a Michael Orozco in there, you have a Patrick Rakowski, some of these players that showed great leadership in the run for the championship, but we've struggled to see that calming leadership on the pitch. It's been very chaotic out there, especially as players have started to struggle. So maybe Dylan Powers can bring us back to that calmness and get us back into what we need. And again, we've talked about this the last few episodes. I get it. Orange County is really down on the table, but all they have to do is get to, that last playoff spot. And who knows, if you go on a good run when you get to the playoffs, it can happen. I mean, so it's not out of the reach. It's something that you can still do. And that's the one interesting and amazing thing or weird thing about US soccer, as opposed to most of the rest of the world, is there's this playoff thing at the end of it. So you could be the 7th best team in your league, but if you get into that playoff spot, you could still win a title and you could still lift a trophy at the end of the season, which you can't do in most other countries. So that'll be very awesome to see if Dylan Powers can help contribute to that. With that said, let's get to our random soccer stuff. That if anyone has anything randomly about soccer to talk about, let's go for it. I'm going to jump first, and I have to ask you, Brad. I don't know, because you're an Everton fan.
Here it comes.
So I know Richarlison came over to Tottenham from Everton, but apparently he's going to be suspended for the first match with Tottenham because he threw a flare into the stands. What goes on in Everton, and why are you Everton fans throwing flares at the players for them to have to throw back to you? What's going on there?
Everton supporters have been, bar none, the most entertaining supporters I've ever seen. Now, when they say flares, we're literally just talking actual smoke bombs. The same ones that they use at USL games, not the ones that they use in like Greece, where you just pan over the camera to the fan section and it looks like it's that place Satan lives in. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of upsetting that Everton played Chelsea in the first game of the season and not Tottenham, because I don't think fans have the stomach to watch Richarlison play against them in Goodison. He was just one of those players that everyone loved because regardless of like his conduct on the field or not, he gave 100% of his heart to the fan base. And he has a tattoo right here on his neck that says he's Brazilian, which is a hint to chants the fans would chant for him. He put his soul into that team. He's a class guy off the pitch.
And it's interesting because he's gonna slot into Tottenham as probably like the super sub, right? Because you already have Kane, Son, and Kulusevski on the front line there. I don't think Conte changes his formation, so you're gonna have Richarlison. The reason they brought him in is he can play up top or he can play on both wings, which is perfect. He's the super sub for Tottenham, and maybe that helps, helps him because then he's not worn out at the end of the season, which is really cool. But I was really curious. I hadn't heard about this Flair thing that he's getting a suspension for, which was interesting to see there. Do either of you have any random soccer stuff you want to talk about? All right. It seems like a no. So let's get to our random thoughts and wrap up this episode. I'm going to go to you first, Dylan, since we have not heard your voice in a while. What is your random thought for the night?
This is probably going to go in direct contrast to Brad, which is why I'm so glad I'm going first. But man, fireworks are really, really lame. And I think this was my random thought last year or 2 years ago, but still blows my mind that we all like to have pets. And then we just terrorize them for like a week, or if you live where I live, like 6 months out of the year by just constantly blowing up M80s in the street. Also, like the air quality is really bad. So why?
Don't you got to love that, like on Twitter, it's a trending thing every 4th of July is you go on Twitter and one of the trending topics is just hashtag Los Angeles, because they do like the aerial views of the greater LA area when 4th of July is going on with all the illegal fireworks. Although I don't think they're illegal in Nevada, Brad. So you're used to those like exploding things in the sky. But what's your random thought?
So my random thought, I know Dylan's thinking I'm pro firework here. I'm actually anti firework myself, and I was being sarcastic early on. The place I live at now, we have 3 dogs. I was just comforting the one dog that was having a nightmare earlier. But he's the only dog in this house that isn't morbidly, I don't know how you say it, but terrified of fireworks. We have this Australian Shepherd here, and she's like the most brash, bold, cool dog, and she's like super fun and nice. But fireworks and the sound of fireworks, like in the neighborhood, like a house down, she's terrified running to the bathroom. And I sat a lot of yesterday kind of comforting dogs that needed attention, because otherwise, the whole world's blowing up next to them, and it's like 100 times worse for them because they're dogs. And yeah, it just, drone shows are pretty cool too. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of a cop out, but drone shows are the way of the future.
No, I haven't watched like an official like live drone show. I've seen videos of them. They look really cool. So I'm really excited to get to see one of those soon. My random thought is we're still in the middle of a pandemic. And I realized this when yesterday, 4th of July, my son got hit on the side of his head with a like souvenir, one of those little souvenir baseball bats, and got a big old gash. We had to rush to the ER. I was prepared because we're in the middle of a pandemic for a very long wait in the ER on a 4th of July, assuming that there's going to be even more short staffed and there's going to be a bunch of people that have missing fingers going into the ER. So we were in the La Mirada area. We had to travel over to St. Jude up in, what is that, Fullerton Brea area. And we got there, got in, and they pulled us right in. End of the story, in and out in 45 minutes with 5 staples on my son's head. Which I was not anticipating. I feel bad for my son to get 5 staples on his head from this bat injury, but he was a brave little guy. Although in the moment he was begging me not to let them do it to him. But I had to pull on that dad face and just tell him he has to do it. It's needed. It's necessary. And he's now back to normal, except for he has 5 pieces of metal stuck into his, skull that he is going to have for a week. But I just want to give a big props and a big thanks to all the healthcare workers, especially those working in the ER that are still, even after 2.5 years of a pandemic, they're stressed out, they're worn out, they're tired, but they're still going through this, and they're still helping people that need the help at the time, regardless of what it is that they're trying to help with. And props to St. Jude on 4th of July, having enough staffing where they can get my son in and out in 45 minutes with staples and all in his head, which was pretty darn amazing. So props to all healthcare workers, those in critical care and urgent care, in ERs, and especially thanks to those at St. Jude for helping out my son yesterday. Brad, you raised your finger. Really
quick. This isn't the one that plays soccer. He's not going to be missing time, is it?
Oh, he's the one that plays soccer, and we're supposed to get back to training next Monday. He's probably going to miss. I'm probably going to sit him out on the Monday. He's supposed to get the staples out on Monday, but I'm probably going to just have him like not practice on that day and just practice the next time.
Poor kid.
But we're still waiting for our official field, so we may not practice on Monday anyways, which is a good thing. But I think he'll be good to go. Once those staples are out, he should be good to go. So, yeah. All right, perfect. Well, that's the end of our episode. This was awesome. Sorry to bum you all out with a story of a 10-year-old getting 5 staples in their head. But again, thanks to all the healthcare workers. I want to thank Dylan. We finally found you. We finally got you back on live and direct from Grandma's house. Thank you, Dylan. Brad with the green screen of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast logo. Thank you for always being here. Alan is MIA. I believe he's on vacation. So hopefully he's enjoying that. I believe recently on social media, it was like hot thunderstorms, and he was just shocked by it because here in California, if it's raining and thunderstorms, it's usually cold. Our producer, Andy, thank you as always for all the work you do while you're out of town. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, and we are out.